Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with One Angry Pagan for another Eco Flake show. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are all doing well. Pagan, how are you, my friend? I hope you are well indeed.
I'm all good, man. I'm all good.
You're good. Protecting the badgers as always. Keeping yourself nice and warm with the woolly hat. It is pretty chilly. What's the weather like? Is it cold where you are? Really cold?
At the moment, it's sitting at 13 degrees C. I'm down here. It's weird because we're right on, like, we're not just on the south coast. Like, we face up the North Channel whilst experience weather that comes in from behind us from the Atlantic. So, like, it can be really, really frigid, or because of the moors that also sit, off to the side of us as well, and then, or it can be cold but with driving rain and wind because of the hills.
Yeah.
So at the moment it's pretty chill, like it's pretty calm, and the weather seems rather balmy for this time of year at 13 degrees. So I'm feeling better. I'm looking at doing my walk videos again. Now it's starting to get colder. My legs are starting to feel better. But yeah, I'm just waiting for it to get even a bit more colder so I can feel a bit better in myself.
But to be fair, yesterday I didn't go out at all because I had too much work to do. And today I went down to the shops to get a birthday card for someone, and then I had to go back down to the shops again. Because I didn't have a dinner for tonight because I forgot my partner was out and there's nobody here. So I had to get my own meal. I was like, oh, crap. So literally like 2 hours ago, I'm like second time going down to the shops. I haven't been out for a proper walk today. I'm hoping I can do one tomorrow. I doubt I'm going to end up doing one because I keep getting caught up with so much work, unfortunately. So let me just say hello to people who's turned up in the chat. Joe, good to see you there. One of our moderators, Pete's Music. Scott, good to see you there. Stephen Banker as well. Person impersonator there. I can hear Jasper meowing in the background. I don't know what Jasper's going on about, but I'm sure it's just attention. And that seems to be everybody I can see in the chat right now. So we got like 7 stories, but I don't think we're going to go through all of them, guys, because that's quite a lot, obviously, to dive in to. T-Rex, maybe, says Steve Banker. Literally, we were talking about dinosaurs before we went live, believe it or not, guys.
Look, I'm sorry. I grew up being obsessed with non-avian dinosaurs, and for the last month or so now, I've just constantly absorbing information about Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Stephen Banker's been listening in on the conversation somehow. That must be it, because he mentioned dinosaurs. So he must have been listening.
If you've seen me in YouTube chats for the last month, you'd have seen me every now and again going, I've got T-Rex on the brain again.
Well, speaking of dinosaurs, or shall we say fossils, a weird transition there. So we talked a little bit about this story this morning, guys. This one about Labour ministers have met fossil fuel lobbyists 500 times in the first year of power, analysis has shown. So it says that lobbyists attended 48% of more meetings than the Tories, as Labour accused of giving them a backstage pass. So before, I know you're eager to come in on this. So obviously, on the face of it, on the face of it, and from the looks of it on the outside here, to me and probably to many people in the chat, this sounds like, well, I thought Labour were committing to their green energy policies and whatnot. Why are we having so many meetings with fossil fuel lobbyists? What's this all about? Having more of a think about this before you get the point there. I think one thing that does come into my mind about this is that one thing that Labour do care about is the workers in these industries. And we want to make sure that when the transition does come, because it will be a long and slow transition, we want to make sure we want to try and protect the workforce as much as possible, because nobody wants to see people being thrown out of a job. It has to be done differently to what happened under Margaret Thatcher when it came to the miners' strike and what happened back then, because that was a terrible decision. And nobody wants to do anything like that here. It has to be done slow and transition. However, we also in a situation where we are still relying on these fossil fuels as energy because we still don't have the sufficient capacity to not rely on it and to not use it as well. While at the same time, it also sounds like that the fossil fuel industry has its sink in its teeth and its claws, possibly into the Labour government as well. So it also paints that kind of image as well from the looks of it. But before we read into the article, Pagan, what do you make of this story and this headline? Does it? I guess another question is it a bit misleading as well?
I think it is. I think it's a bit like, you remember a couple of months ago the Badger story when people were saying about like, oh, Labour are backtracking on the Badger vaccines, and it turns out they weren't. Like they said they weren't going to do any more badger culling licenses, and it turns out they aren't actually doing more badger culling licenses. Like when you actually read further in, so I feel this is a bit like that for me. This one didn't actually surprise me, and it's not because of the whole them getting their claws into the Labour government. This doesn't surprise me for the simple fact is that Ed Miliband's pure goal is for the green transition. So it does not surprise me in the slightest that these fossil fuel companies would be constantly badgering him, trying to get their own way. And it doesn't surprise me they'd be doing it more with with the Labour Party than they would have with a Tory government, because the Tory government already acquiesced to them, so they won't need to badger them as much. Yeah, with this government, I mean, I don't know if anyone's actually been paying attention, but Labour have been pissing off a lot of wealthy people and the oil and gas companies because they want to move forward this green transition, and to do that, they'd have had to, at least in part in stealth, raise taxes on more on wealth people and close down their their tax loopholes, which they've been whinging about. And one of the groups of people that's been whinging about this government has been the oil and gas companies. Why do you think they've been whinging about them? Because Ed Miliband keeps telling them to go fuck themselves. So they keep coming back with a better offer, and he goes, "I don't care. We still need to do this." Now, what you're saying
is that are they trying to lobby Ed Miliband, and Ed Miliband's not taking the money? Is that what we're saying?
And so it only makes sense for them to try and go to make more meetings with more ministers to try and put more pressure on Ed Miliband. This actually makes sense for the oil and gas lobby to do this with the Labour government, more with the Labour government than the Tory government, purely because they already had the Tory governments in their back pocket. Ed Miliband is not in the back. I will argue the toss with anyone who says Ed Miliband is in back pockets of the oil and gas companies. He damn well is not. I won't argue with the fact that some are, that some Labour MPs are, but Ed Miliband isn't. And he's constant.
I don't think he is. Do you know what? I generally don't think he is anyway. But but it was interesting that he kind of didn't. He didn't really. Did he actually? What did he say when the third runway got approved? Like, was he seeing it more from trying to find the balance between the business and that, basically saying we're still committed to our goals, but we also have to look at it from a business point of view?
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of eyes were looking at Ed Miliband when the government backed the third runway decision as well.
I don't know why they should have been looking at Steve Reed. Like that's, you got to think like he's Ed Miliband specifically to do with green energy. He's the energy secretary, whereas Steve Reed was DEFRA. So if people were going to look at anyone, they should have been looking at Steve Reed because he's the environment secretary. So yeah, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding with what goes on with these interactions with government. And I'm telling you, my thoughts on this is that despite the fact that, yes, these lobbyists are meeting with the Labour government more than the Tories did, does that not make more sense considering they're not already in their back pockets? They would want to these people would want to be getting meetings with the Labour Party, so to as you've already said, try and get their clause in. And because Ed Miliband is not acquiescing, they're trying more and more and more, and they're trying different ministers and different MPs to try and get their clause in. Ed Miliband's not having any of it. Why do you think they're continuing to complain? Whenever you hear about the oil and gas company talking about this stuff, they're usually complaining about our government because they're going against their profit. I will say with certain companies, however, that are moving into the green energy sector, there are, and it says it in this article towards the end, that a huge bunch of these meetings are likely to do with the fact that some of these companies, a good number of these companies, are now seeing the profitability of green energy over fossil fuels and are wanting to go into that sector instead, which could, whilst I don't like capitalism, help further the transition. I have to admit that.
Growth. They need growth.
Growth and feeding the green transition, because if these companies are willing to put the money into the green transition, they're going to get money back from it. But we live in a capitalist world. Like, there's no getting away from that.
Here's a question. Actually, I wanted to ask you with regards to all this, because we're in this topic right now, right? So right now, obviously, we don't know what the outcome of the next general election is going to be. At the moment, right now, the polls are saying it's going to be reform. Now, God forbid, if it's reform and they do get a majority and they do get control, obviously, this smells doom and gloom for a lot of green energy businesses, a lot of green energy industries. And as you've just pointed out, a lot of some of these businesses are transitioning to green energy. Is what's happening right now in the political landscape, from what you are seeing, is perhaps what's stopping a lot of companies changing over, because they fear that the next government could be one that could be anti-net zero, anti-climate, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Trump doesn't help the situation. But then these people are hypocrites. These right wingers are hypocrites anyway. These social conservatives are hypocrites anyway. Because look at Richard Tice. Like, that man has got a whole solar farm on his land.
Oh well, I mean, I've talked twice now about him and him posing outside the Lincolnshire oil wells.
Yeah, he gets money from the oil barons, all the while getting clean energy for himself. He's a fucking hypocrite. And
because my generally fear is that some companies, like, obviously there's still several years between now and the general election, but my concern is obviously with the polls right now, and Labour are really unpopular at the moment, and if it continues into, if they don't do well at the local elections and it continues, it may deter future green energy businesses investing, because I'm looking at it from a business perspective, right? Yeah. Right now, right? I'm looking at, like, if I'm a green energy person, I want to invest in the UK, right? But there's a part of me that's like, well, I don't want to invest millions and millions of my own capital into England if Reform UK come into government and start pulling out contracts for that, because they've been doing that in America, and that's something that I think a lot of green businesses and industries will be very concerned about if reform does come in.
But then Labour are caught in a catch-22, are they not? Either they pull out of the green transition, or they don't. Yeah, I'm not. You know me. I'm not an absolutist, but on this one, there are only. Yeah,
this one Labour need to stay in, because there's nobody else that's doing this right now. Yeah, I mean, the Greens are too far away, and Reform and the Conservatives are against it. Yeah.
Labour have no option but to stay committed to this, and I know for a fact that Ed Miliband is committed to this. But when you're looking again, like, trying to do this is not going to be clean.
Yeah,
it's going to be very messy trying to get all this done, and I have a funny feeling that getting the green transition done is gonna be. I mean, we already think it's massive fucking hee-haw and an argument. It's going to be a whole lot worse. Give it 10 years. because that's when the real hard work. That's when I reckon 5 to 10 years is when the real hard work is going to begin of actually changing updating the infrastructure. Of actually going the beginning of it is going to start within the next few years, but the actual big the where it scales up, that's going to be within the next 5 to 10 years. And I think that reforms, refru as I like to call them now, going off what you said this morning, instead of
Reform Russia. They're called Reform Russia.
Yeah, refru, and it makes them sound stupid as well. Refru.
Yeah.
So
remember, they're Reform Russia or refru.
Yeah.
Or Comrade Farage.
I actually see this poll bounce as their peak. I actually because they're already coming up against loads of major blocks. They're losing. People are going, oh, but they won this council, and then a few months later they lose the council again because all their councillors fucking resigned or got sacked.
Yeah, I think we need to. We'll see, in the next couple of months, if the momentum continues.
They're dangerous. I'm not disregarding refru's their potency, but I also think that we shouldn't be panicking. If we're going to fight them, we shouldn't panic, because if you panic, then your opponent has a bigger opportunity has more opportunities to gain an advantage over you. So we need to take on reform the right way.
I think it's too early anyway, but the local elections will say a lot. The Welsh elections, the Scottish elections, those they will say a lot about the direction of where it's not the same as the general election, yes, of course, but it will give indications of what some people are feeling out there.
Will also. This is next year, yeah. These local elections, which is still going to be just before we start seeing any results from the big legislation. Because whilst again, like I said before, even though it takes it takes a while for legislation to go through Parliament, it then takes time to get that legislation enacted, especially if it's big legislation. Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, guys. I wanted to ask those questions anyway, guys. Right. Let's move back to. Let's not talk about Reform Russia. Let's talk more about eco stuff. I will have One Angry Pagan back on the round table again at some point, guys. Don't worry. Government ministers have met representatives from the fossil fuel industry more than 500 times during their first year in power, equivalent to twice every working day, according to the research. So the analysis found that the fossil fuel lobbyists were present at 48% more ministerial meetings during Labour's first year in power than under the Conservatives in 2023. The government defended the meetings, saying ministers held meetings with a wide range of representatives from the energy industry, unions, and civil society to drive forward our clean energy superpower mission. Findings have raised concerns among critics about the extent of the fossil fuel industry's influence over our government at a time when ministers are trying to lower bills and transition to a more sustainable energy system. A report from the International Energy Agency in 2023 found that the fossil fuel companies still had minimal engagement with the global clean energy transition, contributing just 1% of clean energy investment globally. Carly's Brockton of Fossil Free Parliament, which carried out the research, said Fossil Fuel Corporation was being given a backstage pass to government. Quote, these lobbyists should have no place in ministerial meetings about the energy transition. Tax profiting or cutting our bills is in their interest to sabotage these talks. Sorry, Pagan.
Sorry, that's Caris Boughton.
Caris Boughton, thank you. The analysis, which is based on the government's published a record of ministerial meetings, found that ministers at the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero, that's the DESNZ, met fossil fuel lobbyists 274 times, with industry figures present at almost a quarter of the meetings. During the same period, ministers met trade union representatives 61 times. Ed Miliband met fossil fuel lobbyists 91 times, so a third of all of his meetings attended by industry figures. 3 fossil fuel companies, BP, Shell, and Ecuador, met ministers 100 times between them. Fossil fuel lobbyists attended almost every government meeting about the energy profits levy, a temporary windfall tax on the extraordinary profits of North Sea oil and gas companies. Carla Denyer, the Green Party MP for Bristol Central, said, instead of listening to scientists, communities affected by flooding or parents desperate to secure a safe future for their children and grandchildren. This government is prioritising lobbyists and profits for oil and gas giants. These revelations must mark a turn away from the grubby politics of fossil fuel lobbying. Now, it's worth pointing out, obviously, because obviously she is a Green MP, she obviously has to look for ways to smear the government. And so from that point of view, which is why she's using these attack points here. But obviously, we've already discussed about why they are having these, potentially having these, why they are having these meetings, guys. So, Carla Denia is obviously she's obviously doing, obviously trying to drive people away from Labour to Greens, which is what you should be doing anyway when you're in a different political party. The government insists the findings were misleading, saying many of the firms also listed had clean energy investments and that these were often focus of discussion. So a spokesperson added that our priority is fair, orderly and prosperous transition in the North Sea in line with our climate and legal obligations, and we are working with the sector to provide current and future generations of good jobs. We need to replace our dependency on unstable fossil fuel markets with clean, homegrown power controlled in Britain to protect bill payers, drive growth and boost our energy security. Several major fossil fuel corporations have been criticised for cutting their green investments in recent years amid a global pushback against climate action, galvanised by the US President Donald Trump. Katrina, that campaign manager, Katrina, campaign manager at the Good Law Project, said that Keir Starmer promised a government of service, but it doesn't mean bowing the needs of corporations and making money out of climate catastrophe. It's time for Starmer to stop hosting up to polluters and put people first. Also points here that this article was amended on October the 16th, that's today, owing to an error in supply information. Earlier version said Ed Miliband met fossil fuel lobbyists 250 times during Labour's first year in power. This should have said 91 meetings, just for reference there. Any more to add on this, Pagan?
So even there, they had to edit the number down. Like, you see, like, it starts off and it's like, oh, then hundreds of ministers, hundreds of lobbyists, and it's like then it's 290, then it's 91. So it's like, chill out. Like this, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the whole article goes to what I've said. When you look at other evidence, considering what Ed Miliband's actually been doing. You know, he's like the oil and gas companies have been having a go because he won't acquiesce to them. And it makes sense that they would be badgering him more because they're not his lapdog. Yeah, he's not their lapdog, sorry. Unlike the Tories. Then they never had to make so much effort with the Tories because the Tories were already in hock with the fossil fuel companies. This is known anyway. Like with the Tories, they didn't.
Yeah, we know that. We know they have influence in politics anyway. I think it's fair to say the one political party that influences is the Green Party, and obviously your party has only just started. So, but
I mean, anyone who's in power is going to get these lobbyists coming at them. It doesn't matter if the Green Party's in charge; they're still going to get the lobbyists coming at them.
Yeah, because obviously again, because you have to look at it from a case of like they're still vital to our economy, vital to our energy, and that, and you have to cooperate with them. You can't just exile them. So you have to apply some common ground for you can make the transition, but you've got to apply common ground as well, guys.
So ultimately, I still back it. I'm still backing Ed Miliband. I just am.
Chris Fisher, Dave Gerardo, if there's anyone, and Torchwood, good to see you all there. Hopefully, I've caught everyone who I've said hello to in the chat. Sky News obviously want to tell people in the chat that they're looking with their advertisement that they're looking for men.
Hi, Chi. Really? Okay.
Mad. You got to be mad to apply to that ad, guys. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of it until I scroll down, guys. Sorry about that. But the headline from Sky News is that this one is that the UK must prepare for 2 degrees of warming by 2050. Government explicitly told for the first time. The goal is hotter and sooner than most official previous advice and is a nod to the high chance of breaching the ambitious Paris Agreement limit. National advisors on the Climate Change Committee hope a target will kickstart efforts to make hospital, homes, and schools more resilient. Now, this obviously screams of, but we need money for all these things. It's all well and good saying these things, but all this stuff requires money if you want to change infrastructure.
Which means we need growth.
Growth. I fucking hate that word. Oh.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Right?
I hate that word.
But like, is it's true. It is true. So, you know, I mean, again, this is talking about here the adaptation. We need to adapt. We need to start preparing. We need to be preparing now to adapt to changes that are happening now and are coming. Because, I mean, you remember when we had to look at that predictive map with global sea rise? Yeah. That's going to entail probably billions of pounds worth of infrastructure updated, or brand new infrastructure put in place in brand new towns, because the old ones are now 6 feet underwater. Well, okay, 3 feet underwater, but you get my point.
So basically, like, the government needs to put his hand in its pockets, just like I always say. Like, I do think, like I generally do, like, I don't buy this preference that the government doesn't have money, because obviously they can create money. There's obviously ways that they can get money, but obviously there's lots of, like, there's lots of ramifications and complexities.
Creating money is a bit difficult when we already went through a massive phase of quantitative easing.
Yeah, we could also borrow as well. Like,
which is like, if this was in 2015, 2016, when we had literally negative interest rates, would have been brilliant if the Labour Party was in charge at that point, putting investment in. We could have done borrowing for days. Now, however, it's not quite as easy as that.
No, it's not, unfortunately. But we are tied to the rest of the world as well. But some of the things, obviously, that we can do is, obviously, there needs to be, obviously, we need to improve flood defences in parts where there are floods. We need to design homes that can withstand flooding, or that they are a bit above or they're like a bit high up in certain. Obviously, we know that in certain countries where they actually have the buildings high rise, where they you know, they're not level on the ground, but they're above the ground by a certain point, so that obviously the water doesn't go in. Obviously, we have to look at schools and buildings, about not just obviously about flooding, but also in terms of heat. We have to start considering using more ways of protecting ourselves from the heat waves more. We need to ensure that children are able to study and learn, and as well as hospitals be able to mitigate and take care of patients in certain climates as well.
It's even more basic than that. Think about plumbing. Think about the whole sewage system. Think about the energy infrastructure. I mean, see, we think about the things that touch our daily lives, and everyone forgets that the basic infrastructure that all of that depends on, right? And that's going to be expensive, and it's going to be a whole lot of hard work, which is why, you know, for me personally, I want to see more migration, to get more people working on, you know, digging up the old infrastructure and upgrading it, or putting in new infrastructure. No, it's not just housing we need. We need new rail lines. We need new energy lines. We need new water. We need new water systems. You know, we need, when it comes to planning of houses, when it comes to house building, it's not just what types of houses are built and in what way, but where the houses are built.
Bonds are government debts, but owed by the people's pensions. So its debts to the government is assets to the pension fund owners, as Chris Fisher there.
I said, I suspect there are going to be a lot more wealthy people screaming, "Oh, why are you pinching my money off me?" at Rachel Reeves in a month or two's time. I'm not saying that she's going to go on a massive raid on the wealthy, but I'm still suspecting them, like they did last year, to go, "Oh no, why are you taking all my money?"
If she goes after the wealthy, the Green Party, like everyone else, should give a thumbs up and you know, say to Labour they've done the right thing here.
Even a 1 to 2% wealth tax in whatever way they manage to do it would bring out billions.
Yeah, it would just it would just send a positive message that the government is listening to its people. I think it would actually turn a lot of people away from the Greens and your party, and maybe people on the left or undecided, to switch to Labour, because it shows that Labour are listening to a certain extent. Although obviously although I still think obviously what they did with the disability benefit thing was a real.
Honestly, I'm not even too fussed about people returning to the Labour Party. Like, I would actually prefer to see the Green Party go, yeah, we'll work with the Labour Party on this in the constituencies.
Oh, they will. They will. They well, on a local level, they cooperate with all parties anyway, to be fair. So if they're doing if the Labour Party are doing things that the Green Party align with, then obviously they'll cooperate. We know that Lib Dems have done that with Labour on certain things already. So the Greens are not like the Conservatives, where they're like all reform who are just going to be all one-sided. No, even if Keir Starmer slacks them off at PMQs, you know, they're thinking about the bigger picture. But anyways, let's.
This here, we need. I mean, there's. Like I said, it's going to be a case of the preparing for this it's going to be a pain in the ass for a lot of people, and it's not going to be popular for a while, I think, because it means change, and too many people in this country are too socially conservative. They don't like drastic change. It's why a lot of people, and I know this because I spoke to people when I canvassed in 2019, it's one of the reasons people didn't want to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, because they saw too much change coming from that direction.
It was too radical to them, and they don't like too radical.
Unfortunately, the majority of the vote base in this country might be economically left, but they're socially conservative, and that's a problem. That's why Reform are getting so much fucking votes, because that's where our general politics is. There are plenty of left people with progressive politics, and there are plenty of right-wing people who are socially conservative. Don't get me wrong. But in Reform, what they're harnessing are the left-wing socially authoritarian or socially conservative voter base, which actually makes up a majority of especially English voters.
The voter base predominantly over 60. Yes, that's correct for sure. Yeah, $100 today are worth $90 tomorrow, and no one wants that payment, says Chow. That's a good way of putting it. So, Britain must prepare for at least 2 degrees of warming within just 25 years. The government has been advised by its top climate advisors. The limit is hotter and sooner than most of its previous official advice, and it's worse than the 1.5 degrees, a level that most of the world has been trying to stick to. So what is the temperature threshold? Under the 2015 Paris Agreement, countries agreed to try and limit warming to well below 2 degrees and ideally 1.5, but with global average temperatures already nearing 1.4. Their warnings that we may have blown our chances of staying at 1.5 have been growing. The new warning from the government's top advisors, the Independent Climate Change Committee, the CCC, spells out the risk to the UK in the starkest terms yet. In a letter today, the CCC said ministers should, at a minimum, prepare the country for the weather extremes that will be experienced if global warming levels reach 2 degrees above pre-industrial levels by 2050. It's the first time the committee has recommended such a target in the hopes of kickstarting efforts to make everything from flooding train tracks to sweltering classrooms to more resilient in a hotter world after years of warning the country is woefully unprepared. The UK is already struggling to cope with droughts, floodings and heat boroughs by the current 1.4 degrees, let alone what is to come, the advisors have said. Just this year, the country battered the second worst harvest on record and hottest summer ever, which saw an extra 300 Londoners die. Though the change from 1.5 to 2 may sound small, the difference is the impacts will be substantial, the CCC advisor, Professor Richard Bates, told Sky News. It would mean that twice as many people are at risk of flooding in some areas, and in southern England, 10 times as many days, with a very high risk of wildfires as emerging risk for Britain. The experts said the mass building the government is currently pushing, including new nuclear power stations and homes, should be adapted for 4 degrees of warming in the future, a level unlikely, but which cannot be ruled out.
I like that. I like how that shows that there are people who are advising this government who are seeing the real picture.
4
That is
degrees.
exactly right. They need to prepare for a lot more than that. Like, then it's most likely that we'll see between 2.5 degrees of warming by 2050. But we need to make this stuff so that it could deal with, say, 3 to 4 degrees. That is I mean, I like what's being said here.
Yeah, that possibility of 4 degrees in the future, that sounds very frightening. I hate to think of what the planet would look like in that.
I mean, honestly, people think it'll turn into a desert, right? I do have to remind people that during the Paleogene-Eocene thermal maximum, the hottest temperature our planet has been at in the last 250 million years, it was 15 degrees hotter on average than it is today. 15! And it was lush. Forests, rainforests all over the planet, including in Antarctica, because the Antarctic ice caps didn't form until about 34 million years ago, and the thermal maximum took place around 55, 56 million years ago. So, like, people seem to envisage a desert world.
I'm not thinking of the desert world, but what I'm thinking is that a lot of the planet may end up like that as
human populations would be centered in the north and the south. We would very rarely. I don't think we'd really be seeing human populations towards the equator anymore.
Yeah, I think that makes logical sense.
Would have to move either north or south.
Yeah. The CCC, Baroness Brown, said in the briefing, we continue to believe the 1.5 is achievable as a long-term goal, but clearly the risks are it will not be achieved. It's getting higher, and for the risk management, we do believe we have a plan for 2 degrees. World leaders will discuss their plans to adapt to hotter temperatures at the COP30 climate summit in Brazil in November. Professor Eric Wolf, who advises the Royal Society, said leaders needed to wake up. How many times have leaders been told that they need to wake up? And it's just like, we've heard this all the time.
But now these warnings are coming backed up with physical effects. That's the difference. Like, people have been, we've been saying this for like 50 years. And I'm like, yeah, but now the effects are actually happening. Like, people, like, it's happening more slowly than I'd like, but it is happening. More and more political leaders are, like, who aren't Trump, are looking at this going, oh, shit.
Yeah, well, they're just thinking about their bank accounts, not about the planet, to be fair, the Trump administration.
But not just that, like, you got to remember that a lot of this affects rich people's homes as well.
Yep, and the rich people will just move because they have the money to do so. But for us, we will lose everything.
We will have to move. Humans have shown over the last millions, 2.5, 3 million years, that, like, when climate conditions become too adverse, we move. Because migration is one of our adaptations to make us such a survivable species. People can pick. That's why it does my head in that so many people bitch about migration now. Like, it's like one of our best survival traits.
It's going to get worse. That's the problem. They think all this talk is it's going to get worse. No, it's going to get better by putting in right-wing governments. No, it's actually going to get worse. Like, the numbers are going. Like, you can't stop. Like I've always said. Like, I think. Well, I don't need to read the end of this because we covered it to an extent. But I've said that. Oh God, I've just lost my train of thought now. Migration is, like, you can slow it down by reducing the current wars and helping nations that are in certain parts of the world be able to live and feed for themselves. But if you're not going to support them, you're going to end up. These people are going to end up going somewhere else, and if that means ending up on your doorstep, that's because your nation is not willing to play its part in helping them. So everyone's got to take ownership and responsibility for what's happening to the planet. It's one thing, for I'm so sick of the poorest countries are the ones who are suffering the most of our climate, and it's like they're being asked to do X, Y, and Z, and it's just like dude, like you guys have all the money and influence in the world. You can do so much with this. Like, why don't you do more for us? Do more for the planet, and you're expecting us to do X, Y, and Z, or clean up our beaches that are full of trash and all that kind of stuff when you guys can't even do. I mean, you're not even doing some of the same things, if not more.
Human quality of greed.
That's a good word.
I mean, did you hear what one of Iran's latest plans? They want to make a new capital city in one of the hottest parts of Iran. What are you doing? It's the same as the Saudis trying to make a fucking lime city in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
we're going to move to the hottest parts of our nations.
I don't know how the Saudis are going to. I don't even know how. I know they started work on it, but it's like I think they're already running into problems with it, aren't they?
They've already revised down how big it's going to be.
Didn't Egypt try to move their capital as well?
Yeah. There are a whole bunch of capitals that are going to want to move their capitals for different reasons. But I recently heard about the one with Iran. And, I mean, to be fair, Tehran is suffering from a lot of subsidence. And, the smog there is incredibly intense. But, like, yeah,
where they are geography-wise, they're fucked.
Yeah, like I said, people are going to have to move. I mean, people can try and help the people in the poorer nations out. A lot of these nations in 50 years aren't going to exist because people can't live there anymore because it's too fucking hot or too fucking dry.
Continuing on with this, guys, the UN agency said CO2 levels are hitting a record high last year, causing more extreme weather. I don't think any of us are surprised by the increase in CO2 levels, considering that while I am hearing stories here and there about some forests being planted in various countries, which is a good thing. My concern is not the revival of the complete. Like, I want to see a reverse of what happened to the Amazon rainforest under the last Brazilian president. I want the forest to return to the levels and acres it had before. Personally, and I think that what should be done on an international scale is that when it comes to any kind of forests or clearing or cutting down of trees, that it should always be replaced with a new one. We need to have this. It's one of many things that can help our CO2 levels. Obviously, flying, oil and gas, all that kind of stuff, obviously still. But in terms of trees, because obviously trees do absorb CO2, we do need to look making sure that we're protecting nature, because nature is one of the things that is keeping us alive on this planet as well. I don't know if one other thing as well. Like, one of the things that keeps sticking in my head is that why are we still having planes that are relying on fuel? Why have we not developed technology that does not rely on fuel to take us from A to B yet? We still haven't we've got some of the how are some of the most smartest people in the planet not figured out a plane that doesn't rely on fuel? Why have we still not figured that out?
That's a physics issue. I mean,
I know I'm not a genius, guys, but I'm just like we've figured out how to go to the moon. We've accomplished amazing things, but we can't think of a different source for like putting planes in the air.
Yeah, but it wasn't like the missions that went to the moon were all put. I mean, Apollo 13 and whatnot.
Great film.
My point though is that like these things advance and evolve. When it comes to fuelless travel, I mean, yeah, but none of it is as efficient at the moment in terms of speed balanced with fuel efficiency. Like, none of this is as efficient as using diesel petrol at the moment. And this is why I'm looking forward to more development into battery technology, which is happening. that's one thing that is happening is development, is research and development into being able to utilize. I mean, this is one area where I think the F1 is going to come in useful, and not just the F1, FE as well, because some of the ideas that come out of that go into new cars. Like the energy recall system that when you brake, and that bring some of that energy is then brought back to the battery. That was brought up in the F1 and then went to the FE, and now is put into some of the more modern cars. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing how research and development goes when it comes to planes, for example, as you said. See it, but this is another one that in mid to long term, you would expect for a while it to continue going up until other countries catch up and stop using, and to a point where they can stop use. Like China, for example, is still using fossil fuels, but it's massively building up its green energy sector. So the point where that eventually they can stop using the fossil fuels, because they've got the infrastructure set up and ready to move to transfer to. At least that's how I gather the Chinese are wanting to do it, and it's not just the Chinese; there are other countries wanting to do it that way as well. So it's you would expect to see this. It's not great. I mean, I'm not happy to see this, but for the next decade or so, we're likely to see higher numbers until we get to a point where the majority of the world is using clean energy and we start bringing those numbers back down.
Yeah, I hope so. I generally hope so. There, China has the biggest green effort of any nation on Earth. Yeah, it does. When the billionaires finish farming our cash, they might just start farming us for eek, says Scott. Okay. All right. So heat trapping carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere jumped by the highest amount on record last year, soaring to a level not seen in human civilization and turbocharging the Earth's climate and causing more extreme weather, the United Nations Weather Agency said on Wednesday. I'm going to struggle with this word. The World Meteorological Organization said in its latest bulletin on greenhouse gases, an annual study released ahead of the UN's annual climate conference, that the CO2 growth rates have now tripled since the 1960s and reached levels that existed more than 800,000 years ago.
Yes, but also you've also got to match that to the massive explosion in population numbers since the 60s.
Yeah, you also take to account the human race, obviously, and the emissions that we give as not just what we're doing, but us as a species as well, because obviously we need to be eating, feeding.
There's more than 8 billion of us now. When Doctor Who first came back in 2005, there were just over 6 billion. Like in 20 years, we've jumped 2 billion. More than 2 billion people.
Emissions from burning coal, oil, and gas, alongside more wildfires, has helped fan a vicious climate cycle, and people in industries continue to spew heat-trapping gases, while the planet's oceans and forests lose their ability to absorb them. The WMO report has said. The Geneva-based agency said the increase in the global average concentration of carbon dioxide from 2023 to 2024 amounted to the highest level of any one-year span since the measurements began in 1957. Growth rates of CO2 have accelerated from an annual average increase of 2.4 parts per million per year in the decade from 2011 to 2020 to 3.5 ppm.
It's the parts per million.
Thank you. From 2023 to 2024, it's the heat trap. Yeah, go on.
Do you know what? I actually think a large part of that is Russia, because they've got a war economy. They're the largest country on the planet, and they have a war economy. I actually think a bit. It's obviously it's not all Russia. I'm not saying that would be ridiculous, but I have a feeling that a big part of that's probably going to be because of Russia churning out all this, moving forward with this war industry.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen. I don't know if I've seen a wind farm or a solar panel anywhere in Moscow. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, so like, given that you know that they're trying to up their industry output, that's more CO. That just means naturally more CO2 output. So. Yeah, I have a feeling that a big part of this growth rate there, especially 23 to 24, I think that year period there was Russia going, oh shit, okay, we actually need to prepare for a longer war.
Yeah, I think like there are Russian climate scientists saying that, and then Putin just shoots them.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck, just like Trump.
Yeah,
which is funny considering it's his country that's going to be suffering from a lot of flooding and environmental catastrophes due to.
I thought they get frozen over more than anything, but I don't know. Like, I don't pay attention to that close to Russia.
The permafrost is melting year on year. No,
yes, of course. Yes, sorry, I'm going mad. Yeah,
you think Russia's the largest country in the world, and so it has multiple different ecosystems in it. But the largest is probably the Siberian tundra with the permafrost.
But they're not even going to fix it themselves unless it's their own cities. They're just going to sit and leave.
This is why I'd rather see Russia broken up into several different countries. It's too big to give a fuck about its own country, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. The heat trapped by CO2 and other greenhouse gases is turbocharging our climate and leading to more extreme weather. The WMO, the Secretary General Co Barrett, in a statement, quote, reducing emissions is therefore essential not just for our climate but also for our economic security and community well-being. What's disturbing is not just the increase in greenhouse gases, but it may be signaling a problem in the long-standing and delicate carbon cycle, where humans, industries, cars, and animals spew carbon dioxide into the air and forests and oceans pull much of it out of the air, reducing some of the potential warming effects, said the WMO Senior Scientific Officer Oksana. I'm not going to say that second name.
Oksana Tarasova.
There you go. You can say that name whenever I have to say, whenever it comes up. Then natural land sinks, including the Amazon, remove about one quarter of the carbon dioxide in the air, and the world's oceans suck up another quarter. She said there.
Yeah, that'd be the kelp forests and the amount of algae blooms and whatnot.
3 million Russians left the country. Most of them were scientists and experts Russian had. That's true, actually, Joe. Yeah, that is a very good point. Obviously, a lot of those scientists have just ended up working in other countries instead of Russia, to be fair.
Just like what's happening with the US.
Yes, as well. A lot of those have fled there because of obviously Trump. The increase in CO2 levels in the atmosphere is very important in the sense that probably we started seeing the early indications of the limited capacity of the natural systems to actually absorb everything we emit. He told the news conference, and she told the news conference, pointed to the Amazon, which had severe drought and heat, limiting trees' ability to suck carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere.
Yeah,
the sinks that we have.
That, by the way, is the pores, so to speak, on the leaves. Goes like they try to open really wide to get as much moisture in as possible just from the air, but because there's no moisture, they end up with that ends up becoming that survival tactic ends up becoming a detriment, meaning that the trees, the plants more easily dry out. It's insane.
The sinks which we have, they started failing. The Amazon is indeed emitting CO2, despite the general understanding that if you have a tree, it should absorb. What also may happen is that at a certain point, we may flip over the tipping point, and then the whole Amazon forest just starts dying.
A cascade effect.
That'd be really bad.
Yeah,
that would be really bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's why the Amazon rainforest. And it's not just Brazil. You got to remember the Amazon rainforest stretches into Brazil, Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname. You know, like this forest spans numerous countries, and believe it or not, fun fact, by the way, about the Amazon rainforest is a few hundred million, tens of millions of years ago, it flowed in the other direction. When South America was becoming what South America is today, that river ran in the other fucking direction. Just as a fun fact. But yeah, no, I mean, it's not just the the sea. You know, when I've spoken about peatland and heathland, in not just in England, you know, across the world, they are also carbon sinks. And I had to say to, I think it was Pete's Music or someone the other, or maybe even Billy the other day, that if you plant trees, if you start planting trees in peatland, you're breaking the surface, releasing more carbon dioxide. And it doesn't matter how fast the trees that you're planting grow, there's still an offset. There's still a period where because the tree breaking the surface of the soil as it grows, it's going to start releasing more soil, more carbon dioxide from the soil. And in some respects, is what you get in here. I mean, with the deforestation, that's happened, especially in Brazil in particular, where some areas where they tried to plant back, they planted monoculture trees, which again is just going to not be any good for the soil, which then again ends up, instead of becoming, as it says in the article, instead of being the carbon sink it should be, it begins to become a carbon emitter. Despite the fact that what we're talking about are trees,
yeah,
but it's to do with the relationship with the soil.
Russell, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else, if we haven't said hello to in the chat, no, thank you, AP. Bill Hare, the founder of research organization Climate Analytics, calls the new data alarming and worrying. Even though fossil fuel emissions were relatively flat last year, he said the report appears to show an accelerating increase of CO2 in the atmosphere, signaling a positive feedback from burning forests and warming oceans driven by record global temperatures. Quote, let there be no mistake. This is a very clear warning sign that the world is heading into an extremely dangerous state. And this is driven by the continued expansion of fossil fuel development globally, Hare said. I'm beginning to feel that this points to a slow-moving climate catastrophe unfolding in front of us. They called on WHO calls on policymakers to take more steps to help reduce emissions. While several governments have been pushing for further use of hydrocarbons like coal, oil, and gas for energy production, some businesses and local governments have been mobilizing to fight global warming. Still, Hare said very few countries have made new climate commitments to come anywhere near the dealing with the gravity of the climate crisis.
I think this is increasing because people still don't understand the scale. Like these leaders, they like, especially leaders in countries where this is actually happening, they are starting to pay more attention. But for the most part, the
problem is that until it happens at a bigger state, until it affects. The problem is it's always the case of, and this is the worst thing about this, right? It's always a case of we need real terrible tragedies to occur before people start taking it seriously, and that's the sad reality of this. They're not prepared to listen until it affects them. They're not prepared to listen. Well, they'll say that they're prepared to listen, but unless it actually directly affects them, sometimes it's just for them. It's like, it's like, it's just the green people again.
Rich people are gullible as well, so they're going to be convinced by the ghouls that are saying, "Oh no, what are you talking about? This is all hogwash." There are wealthy people out there stupid enough to believe that bollocks.
Yeah.
So
unions are the key. Yeah, I was just going to say. Sorry, I was just going to say. Chris Fisher there saying about unions are the key to the freedom of the working class, which is the 90%. Stand with unions, not against. Yes, unions are the reason people have rights not in many parts of the world, including here in the UK. Mm-hmm. We need them more than
although some unions want us to continue with the oil and gas jobs. So,
well, they're also doing it for the protection of their own workers.
Well, I know, but it doesn't help me, does it? It doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't help our position. No.
So that's another battle we should talk about at some point. The battle between the green transition and the left, because there are going to be arguments with unions, major arguments.
Yeah, Ralph Russell Cannons. We'll set a target for 2075. Kick the can down the way down the road. Yeah, we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out in 50 years' time.
Well, this is why Labour, when people are saying, are you sure you can even get like the 2030 target? And it's like, one thing I'd seen was that, like, one answer to that a Labour minister gave back, I think it might even be in Keir Starmer, was like, even if we can't achieve net zero by 2030, the mission to get there will still progress us. Even if we can't get there, will still progress us to that point, even if we can't get there by that date, which is true.
The increase in 2024 is setting the planet on track for more long-term temperature increases, WMO has said. It noted that concentrations of methane and nitrous oxide, other greenhouse gases caused by human inactivity, has also hit record levels. The report was bound to raise new doubts on the world's ability to hit the goal laid out in the 2015 Paris Climate Accord of keeping the global average temperatures increased to 1.5 degrees Celsius, that's 2.7 Fahrenheit, above pre-industrial levels. The UN's climate chief, Simon Steele, has said that the Earth is now on track for 3 degrees Celsius. And meanwhile, the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's global data for this year through June reveals that carbon dioxide levels are still rising at one of the highest rates on record, yet not quite as high as from 2023 to 2024. Excuse me, that's okay. That's not as high as 2023 and 2024, I suppose, but I guess you've got to take any good things that you can, I suppose, there. The agency's monthly data, I'll come to that in a moment, Steve, sorry. The agency's monthly data for the long-running Hawaii monitoring location for 2025 through August also shows that CO2 rates are still increasing, but not as much as between 2023 and 2024.
Slow down in the rate is interesting. Nice.
Thank you. Sorry, let me just say thank you, Steve. Steve, good to see you there, my friend. It's good morning to you over in New Zealand because of the time zone. So happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for the 20. Thank you for the 20 New Zealand dollars. Hope you are doing well, my friend. Thank you so much for that very generous super chat. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate your support, my friend. Sorry, please continue, Pagan.
Sorry, oh yeah, we weren't going to hit this. Like when the 2015 Paris Agreement was agreed, I was like, we're not hitting that. I mean, but that goes to my point earlier with Labour. Like, we are like going for having these goals isn't entirely pointless, even if we can't keep to those exact goals. Trying to get there will actually cause us to progress anyway. You see, there's historic precedent on this one in so many different areas. I can't even count. So, like, yes, like some of these goals may sound unrealistic, but the point is to try and get there. Even if we can't get all the way there, getting a good portion of the way there is still doing good. And I need people to have a less absolutist view on this, especially when it comes to the climate, because we could see an uptick in geological activity, which could, no matter what we do, could end up tipping over the balance anyway. So we just need to try and keep progressing. And wherever there are wins, we need to go, yes.
We need to big ourselves up a little bit, because all we see is doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah, even if it's only a little win, like the uptick in badger vaccinations, right? You might see that as a little win, but it's still a win. Yeah, it is. It needs more, needs a lot more, but it's still more than it was.
Yeah. I need to say this comment because we need to laugh here. Giles says, funny story, I read somewhere an American girl was angry because of the Australians are one day ahead of the USA. Then why did they not warn them of nothing? 9/11. Oh dear, oh dear.
Have you seen the videos where a person stood there with a blank map of the world, and they're like, they're surrounded by America, and they're like an American mall or something? Like,
Why didn't the Aussies warn us?
Can you point to a country and they say Africa? No, I didn't say continent. I said country. Yeah, Africa.
Oh, I needed that, guys. Oh God. Oh dear. No, I believe you, Joe. I believe you. I believe you. I believe that story.
I've seen videos where that that's similar to that, where it's it just proves your point, man.
Yeah. Kirsty, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much for your support. Really appreciate it. Many planet-saving ideas are being by large corporations that it affects their profit margins. Yeah. Unfortunately,
that does smaller efforts that much more important.
It does. It does. Thank you for that super chat. It's very generous of you. I really appreciate it. Chris Fisher, hold on a sec. Chris Fisher says, I heard an American ask why they speak English in Britain because English is an American language. Oh God!
I have actually asked me, why aren't you speaking English?
Dear.
Me. I had an American tell me I wasn't speaking English. Me. I'm like, what?
Jesus Christ. Oh, God. Laughter cures a lot of things, guys. Sometimes you just got to laugh at this, laugh at the stupidity, because if you don't, all you're going to do is cry, guys. Oh, thank you, Jao and Chris, for those comments. That's really helped me. God. It reminds us of just how fucking thick people are in the world. Because they're really hard, guys.
Dense is an understatement.
Oh, dense is a good word. Oh. Regularly ask Americans to speak English. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say that.
Oh, have you seen Americans try to say the word Worcestershire?
No.
Worcestershire. It's like,
to be fair, I struggle to say. To be fair, I struggle to say words as well. So, I'm not going to criticise them.
It's Worcestershire sauce, and the Americans trying to say Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire? It's oh my fucking god.
But again, it goes back to just after jokes. Obviously, it all goes down to poor education. I'm afraid as well, which is also what stems to it. I'm afraid.
Yeah, if you're not going to put enough money investment into your state education, this is how the kids are going to turn out.
Mm-hmm. Right, so unfortunately, because whenever you go from the independent guys, they always give put out giant adverts. So your one today is from Tesco's, guys, because every little helps. But more importantly, on their headline here from them is the majority of the world's birds species in decline as a nature crisis deepens, experts say. So 3 Arctic seal species have also moved closer to extinction as global warming's destroyed their icy homes. Look at this beautiful bird. What have you got against birds, guys?
I have to say, I had a similar sized dinosaur fly into my bathroom yesterday. A robin. Flew into my bathroom.
The robin.
All of a sudden, I had my little brother going, we have a bird in the bathroom. I'm like, what?
Whenever I see a robin, I keep thinking it's my granddad following me. Because before my nan passed, after my granddad passed away during COVID, in the final few years leading up to my nan passing away, she always had a robin kept appearing in the garden or kept appearing on the windowsill or whatnot. And even one time actually went into the living room. So whenever I see a robin, I always think it's my granddad. So it's a nice little thought, isn't it?
Yeah. No, this particular robin flew it must, because it was really windy yesterday. I think we're an upstairs flat as well, and because I when I'm here, I tend to keep the front door open downstairs open, so the cat can come in and out. And yeah, there must have been a serious updraft that came into our flat, and this bird went straight up the stairs, straight into our bathroom. My little brother comes, there's a bird in the bathroom. There's a bird in the bathroom. I'm walking there, there's a robin panicking its ass off in my bathroom. I'm like, oh, great. Luckily,
Scott, are you thinking
without hurting itself?
Scott, are you thinking of birds that we're looking at here, or are you thinking about birds?
I mean, look,
didn't every tweet? Well, they do tweet. They just don't use social media. It's a different kind of tweet. I know you're joking, mate. I know you're joking. It's fine.
At least we don't have cassowaries wild roaming in this country. If there's one avian dinosaur I'm fucking terrified of, it's the fucking cassowary. 4-inch spike on each of its feet.
So more than this, I don't know if we'll cover another story after this. We might just do this one. We'll see, guys. More than 6 in 10 bird species around the world are in decline as agriculture and logging threatens their homes, conservation experts have warned. In the latest update to the International Union of Conservation of Nature's, that's the IUCN, Red List of Threatened Species also warned that 3 species of Arctic seals have been pushed closer to extinction in the face of global warming, with the hooded seals now listed as endangered. That's not good.
With the seals,
globally,
that's because they would usually use sea ice to, at least in part, to take a break, because swimming does use energy. So they use not just rocky coast and whatnot, but they'll use sea ice to actually, and not just that, but to bring up their. You've seen the nature documentaries where the polar bear is going after a white fluffy baby seal.
Yeah.
Well, that can't happen anymore because of the lack of sea ice. So they can't even give birth to the young because there's no sea ice, or there's less sea ice than there was, I should say.
I thought it was the other way around, Stephen. Ducks pick on my cats.
Bastards. Have you seen what mallards do, like when they're together and the dog tries to bark at them? They're nasty bastards.
Oh, maybe no. You know what? Actually, that makes more sense, Steve. Actually, I'm thinking of pigeons for some reason.
Yeah, the ones you really don't want to mess with are mute swans, the big white ones. Oh God.
Oh no! Don't mess with the swans, guys. The latest update to the International Union. I just said that, didn't I? Globally, 6 species have been moved to the extinct category according to the latest red list, including the Christmas Island shrew.
Oh no!
Bingo! You didn't tell me about this. A species of cone snail and slender-billed curfew, while 3 Australian mammals were declared as extinct in their first assessment. You don't tell me a lot about the work you do you?
See, I heard about the caribou.
He doesn't.
I heard about caribou. A species of cone snail. I mean, cone snails can be bloody deadly, so I'm not entirely sure what I feel about that one. But I mean, Australia is. There are several different reasons for different mammals to be going extinct. You've got introduced species like cane toads, foxes, cats. Have you seen some of the size of some of the feral cats in Australia? They're as big as foxes. They're insane.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So like you got introduced species, you've got climate change, and you've got direct human contact. So Australia is. Yeah, I think the majority of the ones that went extinct, the species that went extinct in Australia, I think, were small mammal species. They're being outcompeted by rats that were introduced to Australia, rats and mice, and also being overhunted by foxes, feral cats, and the like.
Not good, guys. But there is a brighter news for green sea turtles. I think this was another link to another story, isn't this? There's a brighter news for green sea turtles, which have gone from endangered to least concern status following decades of conservatism, conservation efforts. The latest the latest IUCN Red List update includes an assessment that reveal a estimate 61% of bird species worldwide have declining populations and increased from 44% in 2016. And more than 1 in 10, that's 11%, of the 11,185 bird species assessed for the red list are globally threatened. In the most prevalent cause for declines in bird populations, which play a vital role in the natural systems, as
pollinators, seed dispersers, pest
pollinators,
controllers, and scavengers.
It's their habitats are being lost or degraded. This is driven particularly by expanding and more intensive farming and logging, which are the main threats to birds and at risk of extinction. Conservationists have said.
What's insane? Do you know what's insane? Birds are the only species to inhabit every single continent on land. Birds, dinosaurs are still the only animal to permanently live on every single continent on land on this planet, including Antarctica.
That's because they're not. That's because they're not landlocked. They can go anywhere they want.
I mean, look at like I said, and yet this is and
we
yet we're still
we as a species we can't fly.
And then you're seeing 11% of species worldwide are in decline, and yet I'm still expecting in many other areas for them to continue to get better. So it's like it depends on what area of the world, but it does.
It depends. Country, environment, temperatures, moisture, all these kind of factors that take into. Some birds won't be able to survive. Some may be able to adapt and whatnot. It's just going to be an ever-changing climate for some of them.
But the fact that so many are so many more are at risk, I should say, compared to just a few years ago. That's insane.
Yeah, someone would charge us if we started flying. To be fair, Joe. Yeah. Yes, I've got to find a way to.
Okay. I don't know.
I mean, how long before they start charging us for the air we breathe? Oh, you're breathing. You're breathing in our atmosphere. That's a tax there, guys. Oxygen tax.
Oh, they did that as a Doctor Who episode. Peter Capaldi, fucking brilliant episode.
Wow. Oh dear, right. In Madagascar, West Africa, and Central America, loss of tropical forests is posing an increased risk to birds, with 14 bird species only found in Madagascar's forests, pushing into the threatened category, and 3 now considered to be vulnerable to extinction. In West Africa, 5 species are now threatened, including the black casqued hornbill. You just say the word because I can't say. Yeah, which is also hunted and traded.
Black casqued.
So you know what would be nice if they said all these birds and they actually put a picture next to them so we can examine and look at all these birds as well.
Oh, a hornbill looks a little bit like a toucan, but with an extra bit like there on its head, and with the black the black casqued hornbill would be with a black bit there instead of a yellow bit. But usually, hornbills like giant hornbill have a massive like.
Oh, that's a lovely picture of it.
Yeah, so like a cross between a weird cross between a toucan and a stork.
I will show the chat pictures in a mo, guys. Once we finish reading this, I will show it in a moment. It's a lovely bird if you haven't seen it.
And you can definitely
while in Central America, forest loss have pushed the northern nightingale render to near threatened. Dr. Ian Burfield from BirdLife and the Bird Red List Authority coordinator said that 3 in 5 of the world's bird species have declined. Population shows how deep a biodiversity crisis has become and how urgent it is that the government take the conservation. My screen just jumped there. Hopefully nothing.
Committed to under multiple conventions and agreements.
Yeah. We're still here, aren't we?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Are we still here? Just my screen jumped. Okay.
I jumped a little bit as well, but yeah, we're still live.
Just checking the connection is fine.
Yeah, we're still going.
Yeah, so there was a tiny dip, but it's fine. Okay. Climate change is another major threat to wildlife species, with rising temperatures pushing 3 species of Arctic seals closer to extinction. According to the update to the Red List, which is released at the IUCN World Conservation Congress in Abu Dhabi. Jasper, shut up. The hooded seal Don't worry about Jasper. He's got food. He's been fed. He just wants attention. Don't worry about him, honestly. The hooded seal has declined from vulnerable to endangered, while the bearded seal and the harp seal have moved from least concern to near threatened. Conservationists have said the primary threat to seal species in the region was sea ice loss, driven by global warming, which is happening 4 times faster than the Arctic than
It's because there's no land beneath
Arctic
the ice.
seals rely on sea ice for breeding and raising their pups, as well as screen done that again.
Yeah,
why is the screen doing that? That's very weird. Is it because I added another link? It might be. All right. Resting and accessing forged areas, while loss of ice also affects feeding habits and increased human activity, while also threatens the seals. Ice-dependent seals are a key food source for other animals, such as polar bears and indigenous people in the region, as they play a central role in the ecosystem, with their survival tied to their health and health of the entire marine environment, the IUCN has said. But species can rebound with the help of conservation action, with the global population of green sea turtles increased by around 28% since the 1970s. Turtles are found in tropical
not
and
just the
subtropical
turtles.
waters.
You should see saltwater crocodiles. Saltwater crocodiles a few decades back were becoming threatened, and now they are of least concern. There are saltwater crocodiles are not in any risk of being endangered at the moment.
Thanks for popping in, Scott. Appreciate it. Action to reverse declines have focused on protecting nesting females and eggs on beaches, engaging with communities to reduce human consumption and prevent accidental catch in fishing gear, with efforts in Ascension Island, Brazil, Mexico, Hawaii particularly successful, the IUCN has said. Mike Hofferman, head of wildlife recovery at Zoology Society of London, has said that today's update shows the scale of the challenge, but it's also a moment for celebration and a timely reminder of exactly why we must keep going. And after years of perch on the edge of extinction, the green sea turtle is no longer considered a risk. That's a huge win, a testament of decades of dedicated work alongside local community.
Dr. Grethel Aguilar. Grethel Aguilar,
the IUCN Director General, said the latest. Yeah, I'm not saying it. You can say it. So the latest Red List update shone a light on both the urgent challenges and powerful possibilities before us. So positives and there is some positive stuff. While obviously hearing about the
this. Do you see why now? Why I was at last stream before where I got into an argument with someone in chat about the fact that I think it was Zhao and Stephen. I think were like, no one's doing anything. Like, no. There's a lot that's happening. It's just not enough. Like, you can't. I won't accept the absolutist argument that no one out there is doing anything, because evidently people are, and to say that takes away from their efforts. It devalues the people, the efforts of the people that are trying to, put the work in to save these species, to do this stuff. People are out there doing work, doing good work. We just need more people. You see what I mean, though? It looks like a cross between a stork and a toucan with an extra thing on its head.
Yeah, it's very fascinating.
Mate, tell me that doesn't look. Tell me that's not a dinosaur, man. Like,
yeah, the is that actual bone on its above its beak? Yeah, on some of them.
Yeah, it's the I think it's the same material as the keratin material as the rest of their beak.
Yeah, I don't recall if I've seen one at London Zoo, but I'd certainly love to see one.
We might have a ground hornbill at Paignton Zoo, I think. I know we have a hornbill though.
Well, they certainly are a beautiful creature, that is for sure.
We're looking at a beak like this big. Looking at a beak like this big, like a 2 foot long beak in some cases. It's insane.
Yeah. South Portugal is a beautiful place, and I just love to walk the coast through the pine forest in winter time, says Joe. That sounds like a lovely walk. You have to take me. You have to take me walking through your pine forest one time. Next time I go to Portugal, I need to know whereabouts in Portugal you are, Joe, so you can take me for a walk through there. You need to tell me, my friend.
I need to organise a walk up to Dartmoor this winter, I think. I wanted to do it last winter, but I wasn't feeling well enough.
Yeah. While Jasper is protesting outside my door, we are coming near to the end of the stream. Obviously, I'll just share with you guys before the other stories that we was going to cover, but we don't have time to cover up.
Does me not the mouth? I understand.
No, it's actually better that we talk about it. But I'll just show you guys what the headlines are. But the links for all the articles will be in the description anyway. If I have time, Jal, maybe a video. More than 1,000 people have their say on a huge solar farm here. I'll just read the top bit there. More than 1,200 people and businesses have sent comments to the planning inspectorate about a major solar farm, which would be the largest in the UK if approved.
And it has now been approved. Recent news is that solar farm has been approved. So I don't care what the naysayers have got to fucking say, what the NIMBYs have got to fucking say. They can all piss off because Ed Milibander's gone. Go ahead.
Oh no, Richard Tice will be standing there with a bull, blocking the bulldozers apparently, or was it someone else who said
all the while with his own solar farm?
Yeah, with his own solar farm on his own house, but we're not allowed to talk about that apparently. This other story, which I couldn't get from the York Press, pretty much all these stories are from One Angry Pagan, just for reference, guys. So do give him credit for these articles that we're talking about today. A major geothermal energy schemes at University of York begins, which sounds very exciting. Just read the top bit there. A major geothermal energy project at the University of York is moving from concept to reality, and it's backed by 35 million in government funding. It aims to reduce fossil fuel use across the campus and support York's wider net zero ambitions. That's very cool. Very cool stuff to hear.
It's happening up and down. It's not just the southwest where this stuff is happening. There are green projects happening up and down the country. I know that there are a number that haven't actually gone through. The contracts haven't actually gone through because it turned out there were some issues with the contracts. But there are still plenty of green projects that have been popping up over the last year and a half since Labour took over.
Yeah, and it was tied into our last story. And this one we kind of touched on already because it was in the other article. From endangered to least concerned, how green tails have extinction. We just didn't have time to cut that one, but we touched on it anyway, which was also pretty nice. All
credit to the people, to every single person who worked on bringing back the green turtle. Yeah. All credit to those people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to One Angry Pagan for coming again. I really appreciate your insight, my friend. And I think I've already put next month's one, guys, for the Eco Flake show is the Thursday, the 6th of November. Just in case you guys are wondering, so that's literally in 1, 2, 3, 4, basically 4 weeks time there. Just so you guys know. Next week, I've got a round table. At the moment, I've got Graham Price from Power to the People on the board, and Daily Blase is coming back on as well. General guys, I do have something, a little request, if you guys can help me as well. For those who are consistently in Marcus Allshaw's live stream, if anyone can get him to get in touch with me, then greatly appreciate. I would like to have him back on for the roundtable, but I can't seem to get in contact with him anywhere. So if anyone who generally appears a lot in his live streams, can you get him to reach out to me in some way, shape, or form? Be greatly appreciated, because I do want to have him back on the roundtable. It has been a while since we've seen him. I've seen his channel. I haven't been watching much of his content for a while, but it's great to see that his politics channel has blown up to over 57,000, which I'm absolutely delighted for the guy. He absolutely deserves it. But I would love to have him back on, because he's one of the people who helped grow my channel at the start. So if anyone can help ping him in some way, shape, or form, be greatly appreciated, guys. Yeah, we do. Also, guys, make sure you check out One Angry Pagan's YouTube channel as well. Link for his channel is in the description. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and check out his content as well. As for myself, I'll be back live tomorrow at 11 a.m. for another Good Morning News show. No afternoon live stream on Friday, but there's lots of other live streams taking place tomorrow, so there's quite a few, so bear with me if I run these down. Just before we guys head out, I'll just run down some of the live streams of different people. I do recommend checking out people like Graham Hughes on Politics Social with his morning brew at 9 a.m. If you're up that early. At 10:30 will be Dave McGuinness with the Two Davies show. Not Two Davies show, but he'll be doing the paper review at 10:30. And then myself at 11 o'clock, I'll be looking at all sorts of variety of news for an hour there. So join me for that, as well as the weather, daily quota, and whatnot as well. 1 o'clock, I think, at 12 o'clock, Phil Morehouse will probably be doing a live stream for about half an hour as well. And then at 1 p.m. will be the agenda with Phil Morehouse and Graham Hughes there. If you guys
great debate. I like calling it the great debate.
Great debate. Yeah, they do actually have quite some debates, the two of them there, to be fair. 5 o'clock, guys, the most important live stream of that day, yes, even more important than mine, is Friday Frolics with Daily Blase, a live stream that literally will make your lives so much better. I cannot stress it enough. Do check it out. It really will make your day a hell of a lot better. Just making absolute lots of fun is what it is, guys. So do check that out there. Then, of course, I think around 7:30, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, A. Thompson, I think he sometimes goes live at around that. Yeah, goes live at around that time, and then at 8:30, of course, Max Robsby will be going live there, guys. And then after that, as if all those live streams weren't enough for you, there's also Graham Hughes with the Friday social party live stream at
Friday night social.
Friday night social. Thank you there. So if you didn't get all of them, guys. Well, I've already said the but on my homepage, anyways, links to loads of YouTubers there as well, guys. So yeah, thank you guys all for coming. Thank you guys for your comments. Thank you for those who gave super chats as well today. Enjoy the rest of your evenings or morning or afternoons or evening, whatever you guys are doing. And before I go, I did say to Pagan at the start of this live stream, I said that I said there was something I was going to tell him, and I'm going to tell you guys as well. So as you guys know, I did obviously create a new intro for my channel and whatnot. Now, obviously, I need to create it, but I think I'm going to try and see if I can create some fancy intro for the Flake show possible, using the free website that's available. I'm going to send the link to. I'll send a link to you after the stream on Discord, the website. If you want to have a fiddle about it yourself, because it's free to use and free to download from them as well. But I'm going to see if we can. I'm not sure if I still stick with this or not, because I feel like we need to have a cool fancy intro, because I've got cool fancy intros with a lot of stuff on the channel, and I think we should try and get one here for a bit more environment, green, whatnot as well. So that's gonna. I'm going to see if we can get that ready for us by the next show, guys. So yeah, our own intro. I think that'd be very cool, just rather than just the basic countdown one, guys. Yeah. I think that'd be, yeah. I think that sounds like fun, guys. Yeah. So take care, everyone, and there's no outro or anything. It's just me basically clicking the end stream button. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and we hope to catch you all very, very soon. Make sure you hit the like, share, and subscribe button, guys. Take care. Bye bye.